it's recording. Okay, welcome back everybody. So the recording starts from the assignment. So this is a group assignment and I will randomly assign people who have not attended this week to various groups. So your group will contain 4 members and everyone is expected to actively participate. Otherwise, your name will not appear on the cover page. But whatever it is your responsibility to inform me of anybody who, because the assignment is due in week 8. So you have to start quite close. I've purposely put it early so I can mark it during the break. I will, however, be on leave during the break, but I'm leaving it to mark your assignments. So you can read the rest for yourself. So as I was telling the group, there is not much use to use generative AI because basically, I would say 90% of your write-up will be based on the actual company, the website, and the annual reports or sustainability reports. So that will be your source reference. So it's no use looking up the AI. Then the only thing may be this framework for sustainability. So if I have forgotten, I think that I've given some links. But if not, I will load it on later. I'll have a check again. So what follows is a guide. Some of it may not be so relevant to your company. So you may add some additional subheading or you may not touch on certain matters. But this is actually already quite brief and more or less the coverage is quite good. So I would suggest that this overview is one person can do it. And the main thing is the analysis of performance. So for this, you need at least 2 persons to do it. And then for this 800. So if you have 3 persons, you can have 1 person doing intro and overview. 2 person can handle the analysis. And then the last part, you could have 1 person writing it, but the rest of you must also read it and try to chip in because this part can be quite difficult, the conclusion and the overall impression. So whoever is doing the first 2 parts, you have to make sure that you finish it quite quickly so that the other person can do the conclusion. Now, for this report, I do not want to see all writing, Most companies have very nice images and exhibits or table. You can reproduce them because those make it more interesting rather than just to read a solid paragraph on what the company has achieved. So even these aspects of corporate sustainability practice, you could actually cut and paste images into your report. So you can just say refer to exhibit 1 or figure 1. It shows the different aspects of corporate sustainability practice. And then you can just briefly state the subheading. So sometimes the diagram even have the details, you see. So under each aspect, briefly describe. So you can just, so that will cut down on the amount of words you have to use. Then this part about performance, don't just say it has achieved this, it has achieved that. Normally, this has to be discussed in relation to the goals. So you will see here the company's goals, you see. So you try to link that with the goal. When was the goal set? How much do they, what do they hope to achieve? By which time? So to date, what have they achieved? What measurement methods have they used? So sometimes you can summarize this in tables. So that will be easier to read. There any awards or accreditation. Sometimes they have applied for the ISO. There is an ISO for sustainability. So you may like to, you will find that in his report. Then the last part is about the management control system. Or you can look up this GRI index. This is a global reporting index. So if they have an index that ranks them in terms of sustainability reporting, so it's good that you can report it in your submission. And the last part, the conclusion, recommendations for improvement, you could look at a similar entity, but not in as much detail as what you did. Maybe just see what are their initiatives, how is it different from your company. So that may give you some ideas about recommendations for improvement. But sometimes it may well be leading in the market. So then you just say, just state that it's leading in the market. Its initiatives are already quite good and they are on track. So for the reference, it's just minimum 3 reference, maximum 8 references. Oh, okay. So because I didn't give the links here, I will post it later on onto the website. Some links. Also, I think there is a textbook that you could use. It has a lot on sustainability as well. So you could use that as a reference. So let me have a look and see what I have that I can post into the site. So maybe I have posted it in the write-up itself. Yeah, let me see. I posted some videos, you see. Some sustainability development videos, the ESG, some referencing guide and stuff. Then there is a help sheet on business report. But I think I'll give you another link here. I will load a document with various links and there is a textbook which is available in the library. So I will put that up for you. It's a Wiley textbook, a second year cost accounting textbook. So this is the rubric. It's quite simple. Only 1, 2, 3. Yeah, only 4 criteria. Okay, so you can read it yourself. So are you clear about what you have to do about the group sustainability assignment? Are there any questions about the assignment? Well, anyway, not to worry. If you have any question, you can always write to me. Or when we meet, you can always pose the question to me at the end of the class or something. Okay, so I'll go to the next assignment. To tell you the truth, every semester we've had changes. This assignment, I have not added anything. I'm still trying to type out everything and figure out how I'm going to let you do it. So the assignment, it will be similar, but not exactly the same for everyone. So it will be set up as a quiz. So I will later on put up the assignment instruction and there will be like a turn it in under this for you to submit the assignment. So what they want me to do is they want it to be like what used to be done years ago. Have a proper assignment where you do it yourself, submit it through turn it in, and I will mark it manually. Then I will load up the results. It will be calculations and theory. So you will see under here, it is set up as a quiz. So you must enter into this first. When you enter, the points will be 20 when I'm done with it. Okay. So when you enter this, you will be able to print out the whole quiz. It's not a quiz, it's an assignment. And the questions, as I said, is similar. That's why I've had to use the quiz format to make sure that you don't get carbon copy assignments. But it will be pitched at the same level. And then once you have printed out the copy, you can then use that copy to answer the question. So you do need to use it as an appendix to your assignment. So I know which question you have. So when you type out your answers, do not type out the question. The question will be in the appendix. So I will just check to see there's no similarity. But it's very difficult. There will be some overlap. So not to worry too much. It's the nature of the way it's done. So there will be two. Now this individual assignment, this will be due in week 11. So I hope that it doesn't clash with too many things. And I will only post this assignment in week 9. Or maybe during the break even. So I think maybe I could give you during the break. The questions are not too difficult. So you can download it, and then after that you can do it and submit by Friday of week 11. So that gives me time to mark it and give it to you by end of week 13. My first year is they are submitting in week 12. So that's why no clash. I'll try to mark all of yours in 1 week, hopefully. So you're familiar with the Canvas side. So we just have a look at the syllabus page. The syllabus page, the reading is still the Hongren, but as this is a basic topic, you don't, even if you pick up the other text to read, that's fine. In fact, even by reading my lecture notes, that will be sufficient for you to even get a distinction or HD in the unit. So there is a My Accounting Lab with this. Later I will set up the My Accounting Lab here. Unfortunately, since last year, every semester there have been changes. That's why, and I've been concentrating on the first year that because I'm doing that with another person. So your study schedule, it's all there, so you can look at it. Here is already up to date. I don't know whether any of you accessed it earlier. I made a mistake when I haven't updated yet. I have an updated version where the week 9 goes after the break. That's why the 28th of April appears. I've actually retyped it out. So the 9 has to go below that. So I will, so you can see here, the first assignment, group assignment is due 18 April, whilst the individual assignment is due in week 12, 16 of May. So that's as far as the syllabus is concerned. So you can see it's very simple. Previously, I used to have 2 tests. So now it's just that one assignment. So I think probably I'll just make it available during the break. Then it's easier for you all if you are working. Okay. So I still need to put in some things for you. So all this is no longer there. So the module so far, I've made available the module 1 up to, let me see what weeks. Oh, everything is there. It's just the solution is not there. Oh, sorry. No. I've only given you up to week 6. Do you want me to make available up to week 12? Sometimes the ES student wants everything at once. The rest of you, what do you think? Can you turn on? Because in this mode, I cannot really see the chat bubble. Do you want me to switch on the rest, or that's fine for the moment? I don't want to overwhelm you with so many things. The In your first year, I
I think
have
it's fine for the moment.
I think it's okay. Otherwise, too overwhelming, too many things. So at the moment, the tutorial 1 in your first year, I put it in week 2. But for you all, everything pertaining to week 1, I put it under week 1. Okay? So I made it simpler for the first year. So later on, you will see, I will have a ES session after the week 1 review. So that will be there, and the recording will be there once it is completed. So actually, they're all almost ready. It's just the week 12. I just didn't want to overwhelm people. It's just the week the exam is not done yet. So part of this is not yet ready. So as far as your assignment is concerned, since we are stopping in week 11, I probably will not test you beyond week 8. So it will probably be until week 8 or even week 7 topics. I remember I did pull out some question pertaining to week 8 on process costing, but I haven't decided yet what questions to give you. Okay, so
Sorry,
it will either end in week 7 or week 8 topic. Yes, who is
sorry,
that? Is it
it's
Sarah?
Caroline.
Yeah.
Does that
Oh, Caroline.
mean, sorry, when you say, does that mean the exam will only cover
No,
week
no,
1
no.
till?
The exam is comprehensive.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I thought.
Because after this, there are not many topics.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
just the CVP, and this last topic is not examinable, you know. This
Okay.
week 12, balance scorecard is not examinable. The reason I didn't examine it is because I thought you all already have enough on your plate. Also, it is dealt with in the managerial accounting unit, strategic management and key performance indicators. That's why I just introduce it. So you will see that in week 12, sometimes I will just do the tutorial 11, and I may not even touch on the lecture because there's no tuts, there's nothing. So I may even start my exam revision in week 12 and then follow that up in week 13 as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so that will narrow the scope a little bit for this. But don't worry, the review will be quite detailed. And as I go along, I will tell you which are the important topics, which topic will definitely appear. So you know how I always share my information with the student in the first year. So, but for this unit, it's a more difficult unit. So, you will also get past exam papers. So by week 12, everything to do with the exam will be on the Canvas side. Everything will be made available. So can you see here the past exam papers? So I started from 2022. second semester. There's the paper and the solution. So that carries on. So this semester we will discuss 2024 second semester. So I will load up later the I will load. I forgot to. Normally for the 242, I will put it in week 13 folder. Then there is a formula booklet given to you. But this year, I changed the exam requirement. Last year, the students were asking me to let them bring in handwritten notes. Because of that, but it was too late. When they requested it, I had already submitted the exam requirement. So for this semester onwards, I will allow students to bring in a A4 page, but only one side can be written. But the formula booklet is there. You can look at the formula booklet, use it for your revision, but at the same time, you can make up your one-page notes. So that will be allowed into the exam hall. Maybe you may like to include an example of how certain things are done, because sometimes students forget, you see. But it cannot be typewritten, all right? It must be handwritten notes. Are there any question up to this point? So it's quite straightforward. But this is useful because the exam is pitched at that level. When we are doing the individual topics, some topics are interrelated. But for the purpose of the TUTE, we don't mix them up because the text questions are quite isolated into the chapter. That is why I want you to see the exam. And I will also tell you during exam review which are the ones which are interrelated. Oh, I forgot to tell you something about this unit. There are some topics, because I taught this unit from 2006, you know. It has evolved from that. So I made up a lot of tip sheets. So we look at week 6, for example. So you can see here. So the tip sheet is quite useful. It highlights certain things to the student about a topic, you see. So you can see it's summarized. Then some generic thing there. And the other tip sheet links up the topics. You see the linkage between lecture 3 to lecture 6. So don't ignore the tip sheet. It's lecture 4. I used to do it in lecture 3. Lecture 4 to lecture 6. So it shows these are all dealing with overhead allocation. So if you look at it, you will find that there are similarities. They're all aiming at the same objective, you see. So you don't study them in isolated topics because sometimes you may think they are not related. It's all scattered all over the place. But they're not, you know. The topics are in fact linked to each other. So there is a discussion board. So it's up to you. If you have any question on the past exam papers, you can just post it here and I will answer your question. But you got to be precise and tell me which exam papers, which year, what semester, what question number. Then I'll be able to answer your question. The other thing you will notice is that I've also included extra question under modules. So on top of your tutorial question, there are also extra question posted. So like the first year, I have replicated the question from the textbook. So in fact, even if you don't buy the textbook, the questions will be there for you to do. So I think, yeah, that's it. So now we have updated. You see now the unit outline. Everything has been updated. Yeah, let me slow. Yeah, see? There is an exercise, actually assignment. Oh, I think this one will come in a bit later. It shouldn't be practice exercise. She told me she's changed it, but oh, so it didn't come in. See, now we are in version 5 of the unit. My first year unit was updated, but not this unit. Okay. Yeah, that's all for the housekeeping. Do you have any? Let me just go back to the page. Okay, so I was just checking to see whether let me look at this. Is it oh, there's a transcript. Oh, this transcript is, don't ever read the transcript, it's rubbish. It's very ridiculous. Okay, I will just highlight to you. Probably today I won't spend that much time. I will just highlight for you what are the important things in the lecture. Do you need like a 10-minute break? If you don't need the break, I will just go on and tell you what are important.
Tom here, I'm going okay, so I don't know about anyone else.
Okay, go on. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm all good too.
I'm okay, thanks.
Yeah, okay. So this is our lecture notes for the first one. So actually, it's mainly a lot of, you'll be introduced to many new terms. So some of these terms, they are useful because in your exam, there is one true false question. So sometimes I do ask you about value chain. And also, there is a part A and a part B to the exam. The part A question are pitched at low to moderate difficulty. They may be aligned to some of your assignment questions. And there will be one question pertaining to lecture 2, lecture 1. So some of the earlier chapters, lectures will be tested in part A of your exam. So things like all this. So you need to know the terms. You will not be asked to, like, to define something per se, but maybe wait, you will see what comprises the value chain. So I may say that a certain business function is in the value chain, but in fact it's not. So it's a true false question, you see. So if you have read the notes, you will understand. So some of these topics, they are not that important, but value chain, sometimes it is tested. Role of accounting, all these, you don't have to bother that much because I never ask questions on this. You did that, the differences in first year. But I've actually tabulated the differences, so I'll leave that. Then what is meant by management accounting? So you can treat cost accounting as a subset of management accounting. Sometimes we use the term managerial accounting. So they are synonymous. I will touch on planning and control. There is a tutorial question, planning and control. There is one question on ethics. And then there's some question on value chain. Yeah, there's a question on value chain as well. And key success factors in your tutorial. So let's look at the next one. Okay. So basically, you know from your first year that you need financial accounting to keep records such that you can produce your financial reports. But managerial accounting is much broader in scope. So it's much more interesting to be a managerial accountant compared to financial accountant. You really have to understand what the company you're working with is doing, what are the drivers of value. Your job is to assist management on a strategy to achieve success, whatever it takes to meet the vision of a company. So there are many aspects. So normally, again, we are interested in profit-making companies. So they exist for the reason because they are able to create value. If you cannot create value, the business will just, uh, become insolvent and then they will not be able to survive. Right? So they deliver a product or service. Of course, the marketing lecturer will tell me that when you use the word product, it also includes service, but I do it from force of habit. Okay, so your product will depend on whether you are a retail business, manufacturer, or a service company. Then, so you can see at the price that consumers are prepared to pay. So what is involved in managerial accounting is also pricing. And you must be able to use resources that will allow you to make a profit. So you must effectively and efficiently use that. So in the next unit, they have all the good topics. There is something on quality management. In this unit, you learn how to accumulate costs. But all that forms the basis of some of the reports that the management accountant needs. So you can see all these are famous brands, you see. Kleenex, this is almost generic, right? It's the name of the company, but it's become generic to tissue paper. Coca-Cola, Apple, Vegemite. So these are iconic brands, right? But of course, some firms are better able to do it. They have a competitive advantage. So I'm sure you can think of many examples. So if I tell you shoes, what example can you give me? Or cars. So I'm sure you would know. Don't tell me Tesla, please. I read somewhere that they interviewed a mechanic, and the mechanic said that there are 5 types of cars that you will not buy, 5 brands. Topping the list is Tesla. He says it's very expensive to maintain a Tesla. And then he mentioned another brand, I don't know, Jeep Cherokee and all Nissan. He said Nissan has an inherent problem with their brakes or suspension system or whatever. So, but there are people who are, who do like Nissan for the shape of the cars and the design. So value creation, what do we mean by value creation? So the company needs to have a good understanding of many things, all the stakeholders, right? They have to understand, of course, the customer, those who consume. They have to give the customer value. So I have defined it on another slide. This production is not a necessity. Some firms produce, some don't produce. They must understand the markets. Who are their target customers? What is the nature of the markets that they operate in? Mostly it's perfect competition, but of course depends on your product. Like all companies is oligopoly. So this is where what you learn. Have you all learned principles of economics? So that is important. Costing involves a lot about the real world, you know, and the external environment, of course. What is the economy like? Then you must understand things like the supply chain, which is who are your suppliers, where does your product end up in. Okay, so the company, in seeking a strategy or in determining a strategy, of course they look out for opportunities. They try to match it to their capability. It's a bit like a student. Why did you choose accounting or finance or both? So you must think you have the aptitude, right? And by doing the units, you enjoy them. You find that you're achieving in those units. Or you may have a member of family who is actually in the area, and they've given you some tips or told you that it's better to go into this line of work. So it is quite a comprehensive view of everything, of the company, its environment, its customer, its employees, everyone is involved. Okay, so this I'm just repeating it. So you need a strategy. That strategy can be changing as the conditions change. So maybe in some of your management unit, you have learned things like SWOT analysis, there's a Porter's analysis. So, or some of these management units, some of those analyses that may be used also in the company by the management accountant. So probably that will be covered by your management accountant, because there will be one topic on strategy. So here I've just told you how the company matches its strengths, its capability with opportunities in the marketplace. So probably, yes, actually, I think accounting and finance is quite a good major or minor to do. They are quite a good combination. But generally, it will be for the long term. It's not easy to just settle on a strategy. It takes a few years to achieve what the company wants to achieve, right? So that actually, in terms of strategy, there are two extremes. You may be a company who adopts product differentiation, or a company that adopts cost leadership strategy. Product differentiation means you have a product which sells. You have the research capability to come up with innovation. So it is mainly related to innovation. So like Nokia, Apple, all those are companies who are able to have product differentiation. You can even have the shoe brand also, like Nike, for example. Then cost leadership will be things like Dell Computers. So those who are not so strong on the research and the innovation, but they are able to efficiently produce something, right? So they may have some standard models, but they are aiming at a different type of market. So you can see that strategy is actually related to vision. So I've given some examples of vision. So you can look at. So this actually, it is a top-down thing. From your vision, you formulate your strategy, then you have your objectives. So all that is actually summarized in my last lecture on balanced scorecard, because the way the company comes up with its goal targets for each year, it all derives from the vision. So all that is summarized to sum up the whole unit. So the other thing is sustainability. So which is the subject of your project, group project. So this is one of the popular thing. The gist of it is that whatever business does now, they should not compromise the future needs. That is the main point of sustainability. You cannot wipe out everything, destroy everything that we have on Earth, such that people have to stick to go to Mars and find another Earth-friendly environment. So let's hope it lasts for quite a while yet. So now you find that there is growing awareness on sustainability. So in fact, ECU has set up another major, in sustainability. I don't know whether it's available now, but it's in the pipeline. Very soon it will come up. Okay, so this term sustainability is not only about green issues, which is issues pertaining to environment. It will incorporate things like human and social issues as well. Example, use of child labor, human rights. It also touches on community as well, your consumer. So all that is involved in sustainability. So of course, management accounting plays a role. It can help in capturing information relating to sustainability. Then also, increasingly, it's not just lip service. If you compare sustainability reports of the past and now, there is more what we call hard data, HARD. That means we want to see the costs being calculated and reported. So this is what I want to see in terms of the analysis. I want to see some figures. Don't just tell me it's achieved its target. Show me some figures. That's where the table, images, all that, if they have already tabulated, you can just take an image and cut and paste. No problem with that. Okay, so that's all I will say, and I'll leave you to it, because in the introduction of your group project, you need to talk about one of the framework. So from that framework, it will give you an idea. But what I would suggest is this: once I've allocated to you the company, or for those who have attended this, you have decided on the company in the list that you want to do not give me something outside, because those companies in the list, I know for a fact that they have enough information for you to report on. I've actually gone through the website. I know that they have sustainability reports and all that. It is not randomly chosen. So you look to see whether the company has adopted a framework. If it has adopted a framework, in your introduction, it's easier if you talk about that particular framework. Then you don't have to repeat yourself when you do the analysis. You can say that in the introduction, we have discussed this framework. This company has adopted this framework, but sometimes they don't adopt everything. They may just have adopted 3 aspects of the framework. So you can, write it down in your report. Now, for some, so this is quite an important definition. What is meant by customer value and value chain? We don't mean the customer is valuable. We mean whether or not from the customer's perspective, they find your product, what they receive from the product outweighs what they have to give up. So if what they get out of your product is more than what they give up, then only they will buy your product. So that is what is meant by customer value. So when you create value, the management accountant has to understand the concept of value chain and supply chain. Nowadays, supply chain has become very important too. So we also have supply chain as a major. So value chain is the internal chain. It is the sequence of business, function, or activities that create your group or service. Then each step should add something that the customer values. So let's look at the next page. So the value chain, first of all, you have your research and development. So this is before you even produce your product. So for example, if you are looking at the telephone companies, research on like 2G, 3G. Now we are already into 5G, right? So how did they know when is 4G, 5G? They are continually upgrading the technology. So when they are engaged in that, that is considered research and development phase or business function. But when they come up with the product itself, now they start to design the phone. See, this model, what material do I use for the phone? What functions can the phone perform? The camera, I want it to be better, more pixels, for example, or more lenses. Then we go into production. But production does not necessarily mean that the company must produce every part of the physical good. So if you are a car manufacturer, you normally don't manufacture the sound system. There are many good sound systems, right? You just buy it. Or air conditioning, you may not actually do that, right? So some of what I mean is that they form part of your physical good, but you are outsourcing it. So for your laptop, you will have the power, the adapter, and the power cable. The company need not manufacture that. That may be outsourced to an outside company. But the cost that the company incur, that is still considered part of production function because it comes under production. Then, of course, you need to market. So marketing here means promotion. Anything or activity you engage in to encourage people to buy your product, to be your customers. So that is marketing. The next is distribution. Now, these two in financial accounting, we treat them as sales function. But for the purpose of value chain, we will treat them as two different functions, although they come under sales. This distribution, it means getting the good to the customer. So you may have manufactured it, sold it, so you have to deliver it to your customer. So anything to do with delivery, transporting it to your customer, that comes under distribution. Then we have customer service. So in all, you have 6 business function here. So this is the after sales service. They are already your customer, but maybe there is a defect in your product. They want to get the refund, or they want the product to be replaced, right? So they may complain to you. So all the costs, you may have a dedicated line to deal with complaints, refunds, and warranties. So that is part of customer service. So, or maybe you're a pharmaceutical company. The customer wants more information about the product. So that will be part of your customer survey. So if you read the textbook carefully, it says after sales service. If the person is not yet your customer, they are inquiring about another product, or they are intending, then that will come under marketing. How you deal with it will come under marketing. So there is one exercise in your tutorial. You are given some course and you are asked to classify them under the different function. Which function would be incurring those type of costs? Okay. So one should hope that every function should add value. So within each of your business function, there will be various activities that is done. So that will be the subject of lecture number 6, where we do activity-based costing. So the purpose of that is to weed out all the things which do not add a value. Whilst value chain looks at the internal activities, the supply chain looks at the source, looks at the company within the whole industry. Right? So industrial value chain, sometimes this is an alternative term used. It describes the flow of goods and services from the initial source of material and services to the delivery of products to customers. So it may show how the company relate to other entities. So now the management is quite important because it will, your supplier and how you handle the customers, that will add to your cost. So of course, your primary focus is on the cost of material and how you can have efficient delivery. It will reduce costs not to your consumer and increase profits for the manufacturer. So it's like a win-win for all if this is managed well. It has become very scientific. So if you want to do supply chain, this topic, it has quite a lot of maths, you know, because logistics is involved in supply chain. I'll give you an example of a supply chain for the petroleum industry. In your textbook, I believe they have some example pertaining to like a drinks manufacturer, for example. Okay, so if you look at the supply chain for oil, you have at the beginning oil exploration, looking for the oil. You can look for it in the desert. You can look for it in the sea, in the North Sea. In Indonesia, there are quite a number of oil rigs, you know. So this involves, if in the sea, you need divers. So they earn quite a lot, you know, in the oil exploration. And then you get your liquid gold, then you start your production. You may have seen those cowboy movies, right? When they strike gold. So that's quite funny. They're all covered in black oil. So that is the gold. So this, you may have a company, firm A, which is vertically integrated in the sense that it is in every aspect of the supply chain from oil exploration production. So what you get from here is crude oil. Then you have to distribute the oil, take it out, and then refine the oil. Once it's refined, it goes to the distribute to the retail sector, the service station. Then that's where you and I come in. So company or firm B, this may be companies in US companies in Texas, for example. Right? In Alaska too, I believe they have oil. You have the Iranian, Arabian, Iraqi. These are all desert places with desert. So they have those other firm. Then the distributor, normally this may be somebody in Singapore. Singapore is a center for oil refining. So most of the oil that you get comes from Singapore because it's distributed to Australia. Okay. Then at the end of it, you have the end use customer. And then the service station need to dispose of product disposal, of course. Otherwise, you will pollute. The oil, the residue can be quite bad. So this is another example of a Coca-Cola bottling company. See, you have the supplier of the concentrate, manufacturer, bottling company. It goes to the distribution company. You have some of non-concentrate material, the bottles, all that. Then goes to the retail, then the final consumer, which is you and me. Now, we've been saying about supply chain, value chain, companies having to achieve value, but how do they know that they have achieved value? There are various indicators. Of course, the ultimate indicator is the profit. But before you earn the profit, you cannot wait for the whole year to pass by without taking corrective action. So in managerial accounting, we are not only interested in financial measures, but other measures as well. So we have cost and efficiency. We are also interested in things like quality. So functionality means like for your phone, it has a camera, it has a recording device, it has a timer, a stopwatch, calendar, it has various apps. So that is functionality. Then reliability is how well does each function work. So that is what is meant by reliability. Nowadays, things are really great. In old days, when I was still a teenager, if you have something which is multifunction, it means that the quality will be compromised. Better get it to have only one function. But nowadays, it is very advanced. Then another thing which the accountant, management accountant wants to keep track of is time. Why? If you don't deliver your goods on time, then your customer will be dissatisfied with you, right? So you may want to accumulate information about deliveries which have been delayed or deliveries on time. How long do you take to respond to customers' complaints? So since the date they lodged the complaint, when was the issue resolved? These are important because these build up the goodwill that your company has. If you are unreliable and then, delivery is late, I actually purchased something, I purchased a rice cooker because I'm too lazy. I can't get it in the regular shop. It came and the side of the rice cooker was dented. So I immediately took a photo and sent it to the company. And then I sent a a letter with on my Gmail to the company, and it replied to me immediately, telling me how to return the product. And then I received a mail the next day saying that the product is on its way to me. And they took a shorter time to send it to me than the first time around. So that was very good service. Then lastly, you may have something like innovation. What product features that the product has? So now, especially shoes now, even shoes has technology, which deals with various ailments you may have, plantar fasciitis, flat feet, and whatnot. So you can see that people are continually improving. I'm going to skip this part because it's quite easy to read. I will concentrate on what is new. So you can read what is financial, managerial, how they are linked to each other. So this is a diagram of how the two system and the similarities, what is the information required. So all this information we are going to learn in the unit, except for this is not in your textbook. So this topic has been scrapped since I moved from the US text to the Australian text. And then this is just a table to compare what's the difference between MA and FA. Okay. So in brief, MA is a process that provides information for use. Then what kind of information? We have financial information like cost information, revenue, profit. Because management accountants, they will be involved in the budgeting process. So especially if you are a producer, a manufacturer, you need the production budget. So you have to have a budget for the material, labor, overheads, and then you will provide a pro forma income statement and a balance sheet. So that will be taught in your managerial accounting. Then, of course, we want information about non-financial. So most of it will be quantitative, but there may be some qualitative things. Productivity information, quality information, key success factors information. So you can see the scope is very broad. And for what purpose do you need? So you need it to cost product. So we are largely involved in the first activity, cost product services. This will take us from lecture 1 to lecture 8. Then number 2, decision making. We have 2 topics. Lecture 9 is cost, volume, profit. There will be some additional topics in there. And then lecture 10 deals with inventory management. Then planning and control is the inventory costing. That's actually a control. So budgeting comes under this. So the next unit, they will continue with budgeting. They will start off with the planning and control, strategy and all that stuff. Okay, so this identification of costs, I would say lecture 2 is very important. You really have to understand what are the different types of costs, what are the terms that we use. Then we will deal with measurement too and accumulation. So this is lecture 3 to 8. So this cost accounting is just a subset. So we are looking at how to increase value for customer and lower cost. So this is called cost management. So of course, it is part of your strategic planning. Then how do you manage costs? There are various techniques. It's very related to economics. So if you have done economics 1, but I know now they scrap it. Probably you have done it. But those who come in this year, I think they don't need to do that unless they're doing some finance major or other. You can have economies of scale. See, like this mass production, because your fixed costs will be spread out over the scale. So you reduce your cost per unit. Then through innovation, your machinery, your production process may be better. So through innovation, then reduction in factor cost, wages. But I think nowadays a bit difficult unless you can upskill the worker. Then learning curve. There is a topic in management accounting which deals with organization learning, goal setting theory, agency theory. So quite a number of theories are dealt with. Of course, I think at the undergraduate level, we don't really explore too much of the theory underpinning managerial accounting. It can be taught as a theoretical unit, with all these, all the like goal setting theory and all these various types of paradigms, you see. But for us, it's mainly number crunching. Okay, actually, this is not so important for us, so I'm going to skip this. It just tells you about the cost management. I'm going to leave it to the other unit to do it. And I also never test on this, right? So, but just briefly, it's about knowing which customer. So this term most profitable means that when you are choosing your target market, you want to know which customer can bring in the most profit to you. That is what they mean. You see, some customers are full of nonsense, They have so many things. They cost you more money to service them than to sell them things. So sometimes you may prefer to just deal with wholesalers rather than retail, right? And then the supplier. But least costly takes into account more than just the purchase cost of the raw material or the part. They also look at things like delays, the reliability. They cost all those, What is the organization's critical resource? There is a topic in the next unit. For example, if labor is your critical resource, then when you do your product, you design it, you must ensure that you reduce the labor hour. Maybe you concentrate more on machine manufacturing to be more capital intensive. Then they also have things like bottleneck and all that. That's another topic. So do you have enough cash? So part of budgeting, you have to budget your cash flow because you need to know when to borrow, when to invest the excess money that you generate during the year. Okay. Now, this next topic, there is a question. The management planning and control system. So basically, you have planning, control, and the decision making. Actually, it occurs both in planning and control. This is slightly different to your Kalon. Kalon has another activity called organization. But as far as this textbook is concerned, the organization function comes under control. So what we mean by planning, it just means a detailed formulation. So that is your plan of future actions to achieve a particular end. So for example, you want success in the unit, you have to manage your time. So you devise a plan. How many hours do I need to devote to unit A, unit B? What must I achieve? Then I schedule my assignments. So I diarize. When is the due date? So when should I start work? Maybe I want to break it down into more manageable parts. So planning is very important, right? So you need to know what is your goal. So normally, when we associate setting objectives, identify ways to achieve the objective, right? So maybe your objective for a company to achieve profit of 10 million for the next year. So how can you achieve that? Explore new markets. Maybe you are selling nationally, you want to start exporting. Another aspect is, so that will increase your sales. Another aspect may be introduce a new product. Again, it may increase your sale. Then you may want to look at it from the cost aspect. Research more on materials. So those are the alternative ways, and then you can decide which is the more cost efficient. What should we do? Then you can develop budgets. So in the narrative, you'll be given narrative. So in the tutorial question, you'll be given like a statement, and you are to classify it. Is this planning part of the planning process, or is this part of the control process? So if you see things like objectives, thinking of alternative ways, developing budget, normally it is something you have not yet done. Future action, it involves future action. You want to introduce a new product. It's not about something you have already started selling. So control is the activity of implementation. So once you have it on the drawing board, you will then now employ some people to do maybe a market survey to find out what your customer want. Maybe you want to redesign your product, improve your product, right? So that is all part of your implementation. Then you may start to developing the prototype of your product, testing it, and then you can carry out your plan. So part of control is to monitor. So if you want to achieve success in the unit, you'll be monitoring your grade. But unfortunately for this unit, because only 2, but anyway, they are not so related to your exam. Previously, I had tests and they were a good indicator. So for now, I think you use your performance. Try the tutorial question. If you can't do it, something is wrong. After you have attended the session, try it again. Or if you haven't done it, you don't have time. Do it after the class before you look at the solution. Then look at the solution properly. Anything that you have not understood, post it on discussion board, or you can write to me directly, or even ask me during the tutorials. So that's how you, so do it, because this unit is a unit where it's very difficult to absorb everything in the last minute. You can see that with financial accounting, but it's tougher than financial accounting. But what I can say is this: students who have been consistent in their work, normally for the most of them pass. The failure rate is quite low for this unit. Last semester, let me see, there were only I had 30 over student last semester, but only about 3 students failed it. So it's quite low failure rate. But it all boils down to doing your continual assessment properly. There is no requirement to pass exam. So if you do your work properly, you achieve quite a high grade, that will be less stress for the exam. But of course, if you want a good grade, you must be good overall. So the tutorials become very important. And in your study week, or even after the mid semester break, you may like to look at the exam question, because there are quite a few exams. I recommend you to look at least 2 exam papers to be sufficiently confident. So to control means not only implementation, but you need to monitor. Maybe it's not going the way you planned, you may have to take some corrective action. So maybe you have put in an advertisement, but you put it in the wrong medium. You are better off advertising on TV, but you put it in trade journal or something, and then nobody now reads the papers or newspapers. So maybe you're better off, putting it on the internet or something like that, you see. So you may want to take corrective action. Also depends on the age group you are targeting. What do these people use? Okay. What do these people read? So you have your feedback. So the feedback may be in the form of reports, you see, performance report, comparing actual results with the planned result. So this is the budget. So once you see compare actual result with budget, then it is a control phase or activity. Then last is, of course, decision making. It's just the process of choosing among alternatives. So I think you would have done this in some unit or other, right? So the selling price, how do you measure performance? So the role of management accountant, of course, is very critical to the success of the organization, and they are required for all types of companies, not only manufacturing companies, right? So they are involved in every aspect. So, but nowadays, because of dealing with big data, your management accountant has to be quite savvy in dealing with data management, collection, and dissemination of it. Yeah, I think there is a question, a tutorial question on this. I will just briefly explain to you what they mean. So cost benefit, in fact, all the decision that you have to recommend will involve cost benefit. For example, if you want to increase your sales force, you want to employ additional salesperson, you have to say, okay, how much do I pay this person, and how much do I think sales can improve? So that is a cost benefit analysis. Or maybe I want to buy a piece of equipment. So again, I have to see how much benefit, what can I generate from this equipment versus what is the cost of the equipment. So the initial investment plus the running cost for the equipment. So again, you do a cost benefit. So that comes under capital budgeting. So in the third year in managerial accounting to management accounting unit, we will do he will do capital budgeting, but taking into consideration tax. Whereas in first year, last year, we didn't include tax. Then another consideration is behavioral and technical. So for example, you want to give bonus to encourage as an incentive. So you may have to look at the cultural perspective. How is this really something that your workers value? So there may be a cultural aspect to it. Or you want to introduce new technology, more computerized machinery. So for example, things like the cigarette industry, to produce the cigarette, the equipment is very huge and it is computerized. So if the company buys it, they need a technician or like an engineer to help you install the equipment. And normally that person will be with the company for at least like 2 weeks, to do all the testing and installation, and also to assist with training the staff as to how to use the equipment. So if your staff is not up to it, that is what we call the technical consideration. You may have difficulty introducing something. ECU also, whenever they introduce a new system, like they want to adopt Canvas, we used to have Blackboard. But to introduce Canvas, there is also a technical consideration, but there's also a people consideration. So they have to send us for training. So I've been to hundreds of training sessions. And then now with AI, we also have to be trained. So you see, different definitions of cost. So let's say management approach the cost accountant. I want you to accumulate for me what is the cost of product X. To me, that is not enough information. I will have to ask them, what do you want to use the figures for? Is it to tender for some contract? Is it, then I need to know who is involved. So what are the costs the company will take? Sometimes the customer is not willing to pay maybe marketing costs because the customer is approaching you. You will not incur customer costs. So when you want to tender it, they will not accept those types of costs. Or maybe you want it for pricing purposes. So then I will have to say the whole of the value chain costs need to be considered. So normally when we have different definition of cost, we're looking at the value chain cost. So not all of it may be taken. Oh, by the way, if some of you have done principles of marketing, they have a different value chain. Different textbook, they have inward logistic and outward logistic. The inward is actually part of their production and the outward is actually their distribution. Do not use those terms, please. Use the terms given in the lecture. All right. So there are different variations of it. So normally for this, you need to know what purpose it is used for. Or is it used for financial reporting? So here, if the cost of the product is to be used for financial reporting, that means we want to use it to calculate our inventory value as well as for cost of goods sold. So then we got to look at AASB number 2. the inventory standard. What does the inventory standard say? Only production cost. So we cannot include customer service cost. We cannot include research and development costs. So this is what is meant by different costs for different purposes. And the last topic is professional ethics. So we'll do one question pertaining to professional ethics. But of course, the job of an accountant, there are a lot of implications for professional ethics because of the financial statements. And you will see here when I go through it. These are mainly for managerial accountant, but there is overlap, even the financial accountant, auditors, but auditors, they have their own set under what you call the professional ethics, the APES 110. So you would have looked at it when you did your project for the first year. There was the case study, right? So as far as the management accountants are concerned, so this will be the CIMA Chartered Institute. The fundamental principles are firstly integrity. ECU also has integrity. So this is the management accountant. They have to act for the company's benefit. Actually, they cannot look at their own personal interests. So that is integrity. They must be honest, forthright. They must be objective when they recommend something. So let's say I ask the management accountant to prepare a report to see which person we should contract with in order to purchase some raw material. Let's say the company is a manufacturer. I cannot say because I'm getting a kickback from B or B offers me something on the side. That's already dishonest, right? And so I take it, or that person takes it, and then say, okay, I recommend firm B. Although you know very well that firm A is a better supplier. You would have, there was something on the news about Trivago, is it? Oh, Trivago, I forgot the name. Something to do with the booking. And then they didn't recommend actually the cheapest place. They recommended those facilities or resorts which advertise more on their website. So that is not objective, you see. So as far as the accountant is concerned, they have to be objective in their decision making and in their recommendation. So it's not from their perspective, it's from who are they serving. It is a company that they are serving. Then, of course, professional competence and due care. So this is the hallmark of a profession. Whether you're an auditor or financial accountant or managerial accountant, you still have to exercise this. So that is why we have the CA, we have the CPA, you have the continuing professional education, CPE. Right? So every year you have to go for those things. They remind you of the development. So that's a forum for them to share. It's normally over 2 days. It will be organized by the profession. And then due care. Due care means, but this is an attitude. You may be competent. At university, we can teach you. We can provide you with a foundation to be competent and also to value lifelong learning. If you look at the proper professional motto, lifelong learning is something that they always emphasize. So you need that to improve or to keep up to date with your profession and the business world. But you need not necessarily employ due care. So this is the same with lawyers as well. You see, that's why we have cases, negligent cases. If it's gross negligent, it's a crime, you know. It's considered a tort already. So instead of just a civil white collar crime. So due care is a professional attitude where you're actually applying yourself and doing your best. So the auditor, especially, this is very important. So you revisit some of these. In fact, all of this is here. Also, when you look at auditing in the auditing unit, ACC 3510. This confidentiality, it means different things. Depending on what you are doing. For this unit, we're looking at managerial accountant. So of course, your company information should not be available even to your friend or members of the family. Usually you try not to talk about the figures that you're crunching. Oh, my company is making this. This is a cost structure. So you don't want to do that. So you got to try to maintain confidentiality. So if you are in tax office, you have to be very confidential. But in Singapore, there was one time they found some, I don't know what happened. They found some documents outside, you know. It was a terrible time. And the last part, of course, is professional behavior. Whether you're on the job or out of the job. So recently there was a case of a doctor. He is jailed. He was not allowed bail. That 45-year-old doctor. His father is a billionaire. He killed the passenger, rammed into the car, and then the Uber driver now is incapacitated, you know. And I look at the picture, he may well be an ECU graduate in some engineering or whatever. He just graduated from his engineering job and was doing taxi driving probably when he was studying. Looks like an ECU student. So professional behavior means even when you're outside of the job, you need to behave in a way that will not bring disrepute to the profession. That is why you can be struck off the register if you're caught doing fraud or of some professional incompetence which resulted in your company, you know, having losses. You may well be struck off the register. So it's quite, professional ethics is quite something quite serious for accountants. Okay, so we will, as I told you before, we will do lecture 2 to 8, then 9, 10 is CVP and inventory management, and then followed by inventory costing and balance scorecard. So I think this is all that I have to tell you. So we will deal more with some of the topics and I will elaborate more in the tutorial next week. Let me see. Do you have any question? I don't want to look at the down to see is there anything on the chat. Are there any question? So at least look at your tutorial next week. And next week's topic, it's not that. There are some tips for the classification, which is quite important for the final exam. There will be a classification question. And as well as maybe assignment, I may include something on classification as well. So will you please remember, I will form the groups for you. Will you please remember to write to me and tell me which company that you want to do. If there are no question, I will just stop the recording. You can ask me questions if you like. Hey, how do I stop? Okay, stop. Stop recording. Okay, if there's nothing, I will say goodbye and see you.